Before beginning, like this kind of content, make sure you're subbed to the channel. Want to help out in other ways? There are links in the description. One of those is the case of The Littlest Umbrella. This is our foray into independent comics, our first try out there. We have had a lot of success. It's in demand, and if you want to hear more on that, well, look at the end of the video. So remember all of that talk about a certain character being the most powerful character in the MCU, and them replacing Spider-Man because, yeah, you need to shelve all of that. You need to pretend that it didn't exist because, hey, now MCU, now Marvel, they actually love Spider-Man again, now that Disney and Sony have made a deal. So hey there. So today we are returning to that wonderful world of entertainment to talk about Spider-Man actually coming back home to the MCU. Now, when discussing this, like I said, this is not surprising in a lot of ways. I mean, this was something that you hoped that people could actually come to a deal with, because when you're talking about Spider-Man and you're talking about the MCU, yeah, you're talking about a character that should be the face of the MCU. All of the excuses we heard too about, again, most powerful character. This character will be the new face of us moving forward, because we're an enlightened company. Yeah, that was because of money. They didn't buy into that. You can tell how fast they about faced on it. But let's look at this article. This, too, is coming from Bounding Into Comics. If you've never checked them out, they're actually a pretty good source out there. They take their lumps for covering certain things as well. They talked about behavior of specific comic pros, for example, and they lost their comps or their ability to get free comics because of it. But still, that hasn't stopped them from going out and talking about that stuff, so give them a click if you haven't. So Tom Holland's Spider-Man to return to the MCU. New deal struck between Disney and Sony. And again, about freaking time. Disney and Sony have struck a new deal that will bring Tom Holland's Spider-Man back to the MCU. Disney and Sony announced that Marvel Studios boss Kevin F. will produce a third Spider-Man film starring Tom Holland. The deal will also see Spider-Man in other Marvel Studio films. Now, that's an important thing to mention, too, because when you're talking about the cred boost to say some B or C list character, that's the way that you get people in seats. You go in, you have that cameo appearance, people talk about that, or they talk about some excitement at the end. That was one of the best marketing tools that Marvel ever utilized. Having the ability to have Spider-Man do it, oh yeah, definitely. So Kevin F. will produce alongside Amy Pascal through Pascal Pictures, who will be producing through Pascal Pictures. Pascal made the original deal to bring Spider-Man into the MCU and was the producer on both Homecoming and Far From Home. Kevin F. expressed his excitement about making a deal to keep Spider-Man in the MCU. I am thrilled that Spider-Man's journey in the MCU will continue, and I and all of us at Marvel Studios are very excited that we get to keep working on it. I'm sure you are. I'm sure because, really, Spider-Man has been a license to print money. But continuing on, Spider-Man is a powerful icon and a hero whose story crosses all ages and audiences around the globe. He also happens to be the only hero with the superpower to cross cinematic universes. So as Sony continues to develop their own Spideyverse, you never know what surprises the future might hold. Now, when you're talking about this as well, I wonder how that works into continuity. I mean, you have two companies out here with their own competing interests wanting to utilize the same character. Is that good? Is that bad? Will you actually have crossover that again talks about continuity? Or will we be talking about a character popping up here, popping up there, but again, no connection in between? So Amy Pascal added her own thoughts on the winning partnership. This is terrific. Peter Parker's story took a dramatic turn in Far From Home, and I could not be happier. We will all be working together as we see where his journey goes. This has been a winning partnership for the studio, the franchise, and the fans, and I am overjoyed it will continue. Yeah, again, I'm sure because dollar signs there. Now, it was reported back in August that Sony and Marvel Studios Studios and Disney had ended their deal that would keep Spider-Man in the MCU. Rumors back then pointed at a financial dispute where Disney wanted to take a larger cut of the box office grosses from Spider-Man films. Yeah, I remember that very well, too. It seemed the deal had come to an end when Tom Holland addressed the situation. He stated, "Basically, we made 5 great movies. It's been 5 amazing years. I've had the time of my life. Who knows what the future holds? But all I know is that I'm going to continue playing Spider-Man and having the time of my life. It's going to be so fun, however we choose to do it. The future for Spider-Man will be different, but it will be equally as awesome and amazing, and we'll find new ways to make it even cooler." However, we consistently covered rumors that Marvel and Disney were still negotiating a deal to bring Spider-Man back to the MCU. You would want Spider-Man there, again, because can you imagine what happens if you don't have him in there? We talked about crossover issues, but what about villains? What about all of these other characters that pop up? It would be like taking something that has a solid foundation and then removing portions of that foundation because, hey, when we're looking at this, we couldn't come to arrangements. But anyway, continuing. At the end of August, we reported on a rumor that Sony and Disney were still in negotiations that would come to an agreement soon. Then, at the beginning of this month, we covered a rumor that a meeting between Disney and Sony would be taking place to renegotiate Spider-Man into the MCU. Both of these rumors turned out to be true. It just took a little longer for Sony and Disney to officially announce Spider-Man was back. Now, this also brings up why rumors are reported. There are people out there, every time a rumor comes up, people actually talk about it. They say, why would you cover it? Well, because those things actually end up being true in a lot of cases. I mean, when you look at something and it makes financial sense and it goes beyond, say, ideology and whatnot, if you're talking about companies wanting to secure dollar signs there, yeah, a lot of those rumors end up being true. But again, that's why they pay that more than lip service, because again, that seemed to make sense. Not only had rumors been swirling that a deal to bring Spider-Man back was in the works, but what might have been hinted at the confirmation was a launch of the Daily Bugle website and J. Jonah Jameson's exclusive on Spider-Man that dropped this week. It's likely that J. Jonah Jameson had the inside track and we just didn't know it. That actually is kind of interesting too. I mean, he probably knew it. You should have actually been able to look at that and, figure out something. But hey, so again, this is actually a good move. I think as far as financial solvency, as far as Disney going in and making moves where, they take certain characters and they present them, but also it's a good move as far as audiences are concerned. Again, think about what would have had to happen if Spider-Man had not returned home. What characters would have been out there, again, as the face of the MCU? When I think about that situation, and I think about, the expressionless faces and all of the terrible movies that would have come after, this again makes financial sense. Even Disney seems to understand that. Underneath it all, they may be able to talk about all of this bluster and all of this movement towards something, but at the end of the day, they know what brings in people. But anyway, you tell me what you think about this. Is this a good move? Does it matter at all? What's going to happen with Sony and Disney moving forward, considering, again, you're talking about competing interests going out and doing their own thing, but also utilizing Spider-Man within the backdrop? Let me know what you think about that. As I said at the beginning of the video, like this kind of content, make sure you're subbed to the channel. Enjoy videos, share them with others, like, comment, make sure that you can get that thing trending. Want to help out in other ways? There are links in the description. PayPal, Patreon, and this, the case of the littlest umbrella. This is our initial comic release. It is also the way that you change industry that won't listen. We've actually had quite a bit of success thanks to folks like you, so thank you in that. It's an all-ages Lovecraftian tale, plus other tales that are incorporated within this. So like I say, check that out. There are 2 comic books here with one message. We we can go out and we don't have to lockstep to anyone. Leave me your comments on this stuff too. Pro or con? I'm curious what you think about Spider-Man coming back to the MCU. Were you surprised by that? For myself, I couldn't see it any other way. And in fact, when all of these people were going out and paying lip service to some idea that, well, we can go out and replace, I don't know how you replace something like that. I mean, you're talking about a figurehead here. We're not talking about some side character. And bringing that character into movies, yes, again, that is a license to print money. Why wouldn't you? Even if you want a bigger chunk of money, even if you're having issues with terms, you're going to go out and you're going to try to make things right. Now, finally, to end this, I want to say thank you. I appreciate you showing up. I want to end every video saying that because you make endeavors possible. A lot of people out there have forgotten that. A lot of companies are in for a rude awakening. If you need something to walk toward, well, there are always people that will welcome you to. So anyway, thank you. I appreciate you. We'll do this again soon.